There are times when dealing with formulas and values in a worksheet that it would be quite useful to see what potential knock-on effect there is in you changing the values in one sheet on the values in another. Now you can see them if they're in the same sheet because they'll happen near you, across from you, or there's a bit of a scroll down from you. But on another sheet, you've got to remember in your head what value is there and then flick back. If we take our sales data 2013 as an example, here we have 2013 summary sheet that is using 3D referencing, if I pick on a cell here, to go and pick up the value of cars sold for the north in each of the months. Now, if I remember that that's 2940, and I go to March and I make a change on the number of vehicles here, 600 cars sold in the north, I can then come back and see that that's made a knock-on effect to cars sold in the north for the whole company. What would be quite useful is if when I make the change here, I know that it's going to change that cell over there, or I can see the effect it's going to have on that cell over there because of some other clever feature. That other little clever feature is a separate watch window. Now we can set these up by going to the sheet with the cell on that you wish to watch, going to Formulas, coming across to Watch Window. This opens up a separate floaty window. You can put it where you like, right over, and it'll lock, right down, and it will lock at the bottom. I'm just going to leave mine floating. Now if I want to watch, let's say for example cars sold in the north, I come to my watch window, I click Add Watch. It picks up the current cell I've got selected, or we can pick up a range of cells. So perhaps I could pick up all the cars sold and then add. And then that adds all of those cells in to my watch window. So we can see the book they're in. Now, if I'm not actually changing books, I don't need to see that column, so we can narrow that up. The sheet, the name of the cell if it had one, the cell reference, the value, and then the formula in that cell. Let's now go back to March where I was. Notice the watch window stays open looking at those sheets in the summary file. I then now make a change to the cars sold in the north. Let's say they sold 321. When I press return, I can see the immediate effect here on the other sheet because the cell here changed 3016, which had a knock-on effect to the total cell here. Could do the same for the east. Let's change that to 6543. And when I press return, grand total changed here, and the grand total changed here. That's a very clever little feature. Now you can add as many watches as you want. Obviously, if you add too many, you've got to try and figure out which cells which, unless you give them names. To make it a lot easier. If I go back to my 2013 sheet, I want to remove these watches. Well, I can multiple select them with shift click, control click for non-consecutive, and delete watch. That removes them away. These are my total rows for each of the items. I'm just going to give them a quick name each. So that's cars total, lanes total. The naming is just click in the name box, type the name, and then press enter. Don't forget that named ranges cannot have spaces in them. LE total, boats total, horses total, caravan total, and then finally the grand total. So that's the corporate total. If I now add all of these cells to my watch window, so I highlight them all, make sure the watch window is open and click Add Watch. Picks up the range that I had highlighted, that's fine, add. I then see their name. That way, when the value changes, I know what effect it's had and on what. So let's go to August this time and change the number of bikes sold in here to 1,200. You can then see that knock-on effect to bikes total and to the corp total. Both of those figures changed. So without having to click back into 2013 summary sheet, I can see the result here in my watch window. The watch window works best when you're watching cells in another sheet, so you can see what the knock-on effect is of any changes you're making here downstream effectively. The watch window can be closed at any stage and reopened, and it will still retain all those watches. To remove them from the watch window, they physically need deleting. So you would select the one or the multiples and delete to actually remove them from the watch window. If you're not wanting to watch but still retain the window, you would just close it and then go back when you need to do any of the watching that you've set up.